Dearest soul, there's a reason this moment is sitting in front of you right now. Not randomly, not by accident, but because something in your life is asking for your attention. If you pause for a second, you already know what it is. It's that thought that keeps looping in the background, the thing that shows up when everything else gets quiet. Maybe it's pressure around money, the kind that makes you calculate every decision twice. Maybe it's a relationship that feels uncertain, where you're reading between lines, replaying conversations, wondering what's really there. Or maybe it's something more personal, something you haven't said out loud yet but feel deeply. Whatever it is, it hasn't left you, and that matters. Most people interpret that feeling as a sign that something is wrong or missing or unresolved. They assume the discomfort means they're far away from the solution. But what if that's not the case? What if the tension you're feeling isn't because things are falling apart, but because something is trying to come together and part of you isn't fully on board yet? Think about that. There's a different way to look at the situations that keep you up at night. Instead of seeing them as problems that haven't been solved, consider the possibility that they are already in motion, already shifting, already rearranging themselves in ways you can't fully see yet. The delay you're experiencing might not be about the outcome. It might be about your ability to accept it. That's a hard idea to sit with because it challenges the instinct to control everything. We're taught to believe that if something isn't visible yet, it doesn't exist, that if we don't have proof, we don't have progress. But some of the most important changes happen before there's anything concrete to point to. Consider planting a seed. The moment you place it in the soil, the process begins. But for a while, nothing appears on the surface. If you didn't understand how growth works, you might assume nothing is happening. You might dig it up, check on it, or even give up entirely. But underneath, something is developing, quietly, steadily, without needing your constant verification. Your situation might not be so different. The stress you feel around money, for example, often isn't just about numbers. It's about uncertainty. It's about not knowing if things will work out. But if you approached your financial situation with the assumption that a solution is already forming, whether through opportunities, ideas, or changes in behavior, your actions would shift. You'd make decisions with more clarity instead of fear. The same goes for relationships. When there's confusion, the mind tries to fill in the gaps with worst-case scenarios. It creates stories, doubts, and assumptions. But what if instead of trying to decode every detail, you operated from the belief that whatever is meant to stabilize will stabilize, and whatever isn't will reveal itself clearly? You'd stop forcing clarity, you'd allow it. That doesn't mean becoming passive, it means becoming aligned. There's a difference between chasing outcomes and positioning yourself to receive them. Chasing comes from a place of lack. It says, I don't have this yet, so I need to run after it. Alignment says, I am moving in a way that matches what I want. And I trust the process to meet me there. Most people spend their energy trying to create outcomes from scratch, as if everything depends entirely on effort. Effort matters, of course, but it's not the only factor. Timing, perspective, decisions, and even internal beliefs all play a role. If your actions are driven by doubt, you'll approach things cautiously, inconsistently, and with hesitation. But if your actions are driven by a sense of internal certainty, even if you can't fully explain it, you'll show up differently. You'll take steps you would have otherwise delayed. You'll speak more clearly. You'll recognize opportunities instead of overlooking them. So the real shift isn't just external, it's internal. Right now, instead of asking, why isn't this working yet? Try asking, what would change if I believed this was already unfolding in my favor? That question alone can alter your behavior. You might breathe a little easier. You might stop checking for signs every 5 minutes. You might focus more on what you can do today instead of worrying about outcomes you can't control yet. And that matters more than it seems, because your state influences your decisions and your decisions shape your direction. Let's take a simple example. Imagine two people waiting for the same opportunity, a job, a breakthrough, a response. One assumes it won't work out. They become anxious, overthink every detail, maybe even pull back or sabotage their chances. The other assumes things are aligning. They stay steady, prepare themselves, and remain open. When the opportunity finally arrives, who is in a better position to handle it? Preparation isn't just about skills, it's about mindset. And mindset is shaped by what you choose to believe while you're waiting. Waiting itself isn't the problem, it's how you wait. If you wait with doubt, time feels heavy. Every delay feels like confirmation that things aren't working. But if you wait with a sense of quiet confidence, time becomes part of the process instead of an obstacle. That's why learning to hold a steady perspective is so important. You don't need constant proof to stay grounded. You don't need everything to be visible to trust that something is happening. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is stabilize your own thinking. Take a breath, not just physically, but mentally. Slow down the urgency that says everything must be resolved immediately. Then shift your posture slightly, not just how you stand or walk, but how you carry the situation internally. What would it feel like if you knew, without needing evidence, that things are moving in the right direction? You'd probably stop gripping so tightly. You'd still act, still care, still make decisions, but without that constant pressure underneath. That's where clarity grows. Because when you're not overwhelmed by doubt, you can actually see things more accurately. You can respond instead of react. You can adjust without panic. And interestingly, this is often when things start to move, not because you forced them to, but because you stopped resisting them. There's also something to be said about the signals you notice in your life. Sometimes patterns repeat, numbers, moments, ideas, conversations that seem to echo each other. It's easy to dismiss them as coincidence, but it's also worth asking what they represent for you personally, not as rigid meanings, but as reminders to pay attention, to stay aware. To recognize that you're not as disconnected from your direction as you might feel. When you see repetition, whether it's a number, a phrase, or even a thought, it can serve as a checkpoint. A moment to ask, am I aligned with where I want to go, or am I letting doubt take over again? Because doubt has a way of creeping back in quietly. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it shows up as hesitation, as overanalysis, as the urge to delay one more time. That's why awareness matters. The goal isn't to eliminate uncertainty completely. That's not realistic. The goal is to not let uncertainty control your behavior. You can acknowledge that you don't have all the answers yet while still choosing to move with intention. You can recognize that things aren't fully visible while still trusting that they're developing. And you can feel moments of doubt without letting them redefine your entire perspective. Progress isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it looks like small shifts in how you think, how you respond, how you carry yourself. But those small shifts compound. Over time, they change how you approach challenges. They change what you notice. They change the opportunities you're willing to step into. And eventually, they change your results. So if something has been weighing on your mind lately, something that feels unresolved or uncertain, try approaching it differently. Instead of assuming it's stuck, consider that it's in transition. Instead of assuming it's missing, consider that it's forming. Instead of assuming it's far away, consider that you might be closer than you think, but your perspective hasn't caught up yet. That doesn't mean everything will unfold exactly how you imagined. Life rarely follows a perfect script. But it does mean that your role is not just to chase outcomes, it's to meet them halfway with the right mindset and consistent action. So steady yourself, breathe like things are stabilizing. Think like solutions are emerging. Act like your path is becoming clearer, even if you can't see every step yet, because sometimes the biggest shift isn't in what's happening around you. It's in how you choose to see it.